So midway through lockdown, Jacob, my 5-year-old, said he wanted to do a running race with me. And about 10 seconds into the sprint, I pulled up, my back was in agony, and I had to go home. This was not something that I wanted him to see, and it was also a bit of a wake-up call. I could look great aesthetically, but I couldn't even run up the road without being in pain. So I decided to take action on this, to run pain-free, and also get pretty good at it. Because in my first run, I didn't get past 2 minutes 30 without needing to stop and take a few puffs of my inhaler. This is how I overcame my injuries to finally run a sub 25 minute 5K. The first thing I needed to consider was just how much my knee operations from a football injury had impacted me. Tearing my ligaments and having them reconstructed had taken its toll on my right knee. My hips were not aligned, my right quad was smaller than my left, and complications following surgery meant that these things would never quite be the same again. But that didn't mean I should give up. I assessed what needed work. My right ankle was caving in, so clearly something around that needed support. My left hip was slightly out of line, and that's where my lower back pain seemed to be the worst. And my right glute just didn't seem to have the same power when training. It never felt like it was firing up with the glute work that I was doing. So I got to work. I began by placing a great deal of emphasis on performing exercises around my hips, from front foot elevated split squats, quadruped band hip extensions, and working on adduction. I then did a little research on gait analysis, and I noticed that there were consistent wear patterns on my shoes. They always seem to be worn out on the outer edges first, and more so on the right trainer. So I decided to switch some minimalist style shoes called the Vivo Barefoots. I got the Stealth Edition. Initially, I went for a walk in them and my feet came back in bits. I persevered with this and eventually started jogging in them. I saw the shape of my feet change in weeks, from having no arch to having a fully restored arch. And what I found really interesting was that weirdly, my feet felt stronger. My right ankle also started to sit a little bit straighter rather than caving in, which also contributed to less lower back pain as my hips aligned. I still had a few things to fix though. When I first ran, I was literally looking at my Fitbit after a minute, wondering how far I'd gone. Getting to 2 minutes 30, I had to stop and take my inhaler. Was it my asthma, or was it just shockingly poor fitness levels? I'd done plenty of cardio before on a bike or cross trainer at the gym, but running outdoors had different gradients, and without knowing how to pace myself, it was really new to me and it needed work. So I started building this up with 2 minutes of running and then 2 minutes of walking. Then I moved to 3 minutes of running and 90 seconds of walking. As this got easier, I kept upping the running, reducing the rest times until I felt I could comfortably run for 10 minutes, which felt like a huge achievement to me. But then I noticed I was getting a different kind of pain in my upper back. It was to do with my breathing. So I took some time to understand how we could manipulate breathing, learn about diaphragm massage techniques, and really get to grips with nasal breathing as opposed to mouth breathing. This was such a small change, but it had a profound impact. I was suddenly able to run longer, and I was able to run 5K. I was shocked when my Fitbit buzzed and let me know. So then a new mission was born. I wanted to run 5K in 30 minutes. Then 25 minutes, then sub 25 minutes. When I first started, this seemed so out of reach. But with the strategy in mind and gradually progressing things over time, whilst accepting some knockbacks, the goal became a reality. Let me show you my current pre-routine. Let me share with you my current pre-routine. In the AM, I wake up, I drink a pint of water, and then I grab my lacrosse ball and foam roller. I roll out my hamstrings and calves, and then I use the ball to work on the front of my shins. I perform a series of hops, forwards and back and laterally, and then hit a few pike pulses to fire up the hip flexors. I find an awesome podcast, set my Fitbit to track my activity, and I'm out the door without hesitation. I come home most days panting and unable to talk because I like to sprint the last stretch. But the work that has been done has been so worth it. Not needing my inhaler was a big win. Walking and running pain-free is such a big win, and the confidence I now have in my capabilities is huge. I may not seem like a novice, but we all start somewhere. And if I can get past these injuries and obstacles, so can you.